Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Krishnamoorthi from Illinois. He sits on the Intelligence and Oversight Committees. Those committees are set to hear Colonel Vindman's deposition tomorrow. Congressman Krishnamoorthi, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate you making time.
Great to be here, Rachel.
So first thing I want to ask you about is this breaking news tonight from the Times. This is Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. He's the top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council. The Times has obtained his opening statement. I assume that means that you and your fellow members of the committee do expect him to testify tomorrow.
I certainly hope so. And this would be the first White House official who would actually be defying the White House's orders not to cooperate. And as you mentioned, he was also a party to the July 25th phone call, and he's the top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council. So his testimony is very important.
In terms of the way that things are going to go forward now, it sounds like Colonel Vindman's testimony is going to be very important for the core allegations at the center of the impeachment proceedings. With this announcement today by Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Schiff of the Intelligence Committee that the House is going to move toward a vote towards setting the rules, sort of setting the format for the next phase of the inquiry, can you share anything with us about the expected timing there, about how many more closed-door depositions there will be, when you expect the first public hearings to happen?
I honestly don't know. No date has been set, to my knowledge. And each time we think that we have kind of come across a witness whose testimony is incredibly compelling, we then hear from another witness whose testimony is equally, if not more, compelling. And really, I think we have to just conclude this fact-gathering process thoroughly, but expeditiously. And as you said, now we are going to be voting on rules on, how does the public hearing process work, and what are the rules for that going forward?
One of the things that I have been watching since the beginning, since it became apparent, and I'm just to the point where I'm desperate to know how it fits into this sort of thing, is that obviously the president's request to Ukraine that they needed to give him these investigations that he thinks would be helpful for him domestically, holding up White House meetings, holding up military aid, trying to leverage those things. That's the core that started this impeachment inquiry, and that seems to be the core of where you guys are focusing. What about the president appearing to do exactly the same thing with China? Is that at all part of the inquiry, or is that being handled or investigated in any other way by Congress?
It's not something that's a subject matter for this particular inquiry. I'm sure that folks on the Foreign Affairs Committee might be looking at it, or another equivalent committee. But right now we're kind of focused on this because, quite frankly, the evidence that has come out has been kind of gushing out at this point. Not only the call transcript, but also statements like Mick Mulvaney's the other day, where I think he blurted out in candor that the military aid was premised on, conducting this bogus investigation of domestic political rivals of the president. And of course, this parade of witnesses, these are career public servants, many like Mr. Vindman, veterans, people who have served the country honorably, who are coming and testifying to us at their own expense. They hire their own attorneys, and they're putting their careers on the line. So I think we're really focused on the whistleblowers' claims and what these witnesses and the testimony can add in terms of fleshing out those complaints.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It sounds like tomorrow's going to be a pretty important day.
Another slow fake news day, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. I remember what those were like, I think. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Rachel.